Okay, welcome back to Fresh Produce India. In this next episode, we will be turning our attention to avocados, and I'm joined now by Ulk Brand and Zach Bard of Westphalia. Westphalia was one of the first avocado multinationals to spot the potential of the Indian market, and last year it partnered with Sam Agri and Israeli nursery Tvori Or to supply high-quality imported and domestically grown avocados to Indian consumers. So welcome both of you to Fresh Produce India.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Great. Alk, perhaps we could start with you. Whereabouts is India on its avocado journey, and what would you say a typical Indian avocado consumer looks like?
Thank you. I think we are very, very proud with our investment in India. But to answer your question, I think India is right there in the beginning of a avocado journey. But it's a very solid start. Westphalia has, before we entered the market, done our homework for a number of years and found the right partner. And our focus very much at the beginning is our tier one cities. Our partner is based in Hyderabad, so that was a logical place where we started. But now we are focused on big other tier one cities like Mumbai, Delhi, Bangalore, Chennai. These are the ones we're really focusing on. And then we hopefully will roll it out to other distribution areas as well. The typical avocado consumer, I would say, is normal. It's like everywhere else in the world. Avocados are for everybody. So really gender, age, nationality, etc. doesn't really should not play a role because of the versatility of a product. But I have to say that city living, younger professional profile, interested in health, interested in plant-based diets and well-being, probably we lived abroad for a part of their career and traveled, is probably a definite target market. But as I say, that's similar to avocado consumers all over the world. In India specifically, we are seeing a very diverse set of consumers, young professionals, but also older people, and spread through the country. So a bit of everything, I would say.
Right. And India, of course, is largely a vegetarian country. And one of the great things about avocados is that they are so versatile. So have you sort of figured out where you see the opportunities to slot them into the market, so to speak? Do you think we're going to have to develop new ways of eating them, or sort of fitting them into the local way of eating?
Yeah, you're right. So for me, the exciting thing is when you go to India and you look in a restaurant at the menu. It's probably the only place I've been globally, and I've traveled a lot in my life, where non-vegetarian is like the minority somewhere at the bottom of the menu. So as you rightly say, very vegetarian-based country. Lots of people are vegetarian and follow a plant-based diet. So it sits right in there, avocado sits right in there, and because it's so versatile and can be used on everything, we already see that we've got a target market or a number of consumers which can use this fantastic fruit type every day. But it's a mixture of both. So avocados needs to be promoted as well. So we are working very hard to get it introduced in the typical Indian cuisine. And local chefs will be part of our marketing campaign to establish us to do so. But at the same time, because of the global influence of media, many local people are adopting a more Western diet. So the more traditional use of avocados in guacamole, in burgers, on toast are also popular. But the interesting thing for me is because in India, even within a 100-kilometer range, the consumer preferences are totally different. So in the south of India, for example, we found that consumers are even using avocados where they put sugar in it, or they use it in smoothies. And in the more northern parts, we see it being used in a more savory type of products and diet. And therefore, the wonderful thing is, whoever wants to use it can use it in some way, shape, or form, which not many other fruit types can claim.
absolutely. And you've teamed up with 3 local distributors, to set up your own distribution network. And you mentioned there how your initial focus will be very much on the tier 1 and tier 2 cities. India really is very much almost a continent in itself, isn't it? And the opportunities are vast. Where do you see Westphalia going in the longer term once you've sort of had a chance to establish yourselves?
Yeah, in the tier 1 cities, the number of people living in that cities is just enormous. As you say, it can be nearly countries on its own. Compared to Europe, it is just number-wise more than most Western or European countries. So I think that for a very long period, there's lots of good things we will be able to do there. But after that, I think we've got the template to roll it out into tier 2 cities as well. In India, distribution is always a challenge, but we believe that we've got a recipe after making a success, and we are in the tier 1 cities to also roll it out to smaller areas as well, through very solid distribution plans.
Build it up from the bottom up, so to speak.
Yes.
Zach, you're also planning to set up a ripening unit in Mumbai to start developing the market for ripened fruit. Do you see this as the fastest avenue for growth in the Indian market?
So yes, we believe ripe and ready will play a key role, as it has done in many other markets. Consumers are still learning about avocados, and supplying them in a format that enables them for consumption shortly after purchase will play a key role. In a market like India, we've seen a large and very fast adoption of e-commerce and quick commerce deliveries. Consumers are looking for ready-to-eat products, and building the ripe and ready supply chain will certainly put Westphalia in a leadership position.
Lovely. And Westphalia, of course, is no stranger to the Asian market. You supply China and a number of other countries in the region. I think places like China and Korea have perhaps been a little bit slower to take off than anticipated and hoped for. What do you put this down to, and what lessons do you think can be learned from there that you can apply to the Indian market?
So developing new markets is a fine art. They need a continuous supply and steady supply of good quality fruit to educate consumers about avocados, and avocados need to be available year-round to go into menus and restaurants, as well as becoming part of people's daily diets and habits. Avocados, on top of this, they've got a very specialized post-harvest supply chain, which needs to be managed to ensure that good eating quality arrives at the final consumer. We believe the key ingredients are there. On top of this, avocado is not entirely something new to many parts of India, where local varieties have been consumed for many, many years. So we believe this is a bit of a different situation in other parts of Asia, where an avocado is something that's far newer. Of course, COVID has made a very big impact over the last few years. We're pleased to see the rising popularity of Mexican restaurants across India, which is bound to drive consumption. And avocados are also very popular in drinks, as Elke has said, which fits into the hot summer which India has, that coincides with the Southern Hemisphere peak supply.
Yeah, and you mentioned continuity of supply being absolutely key there. If we can just sort of start off looking at where you plan to source the imported avocados from. Peru and New Zealand are 2 of the sort of key suppliers at the moment. Indeed, there aren't many countries that have access as of yet to the Indian market. Both of them are very far away from India. It's not the easiest market to reach. But now I believe that you've got plans to start supplying sea-freighted avocados from Tanzania, and that this is going to be a real game changer in terms of making them more affordable. Is that right?
Yes, absolutely. So imports from Tanzania has been part of our India program for the last year, and will continue to be a mainstay or a large part of the supply when local fruit is not available. Tanzania, the magic of it, it's only 8 days by sea to India, which makes it work like a dream and replaces, as you mentioned, the costly air freight options. And certainly it's a game changer to make avocados far more affordable and better quality. Our position in India stems from our work we did with our partners in Tanzania over the last 15 years, and this will stand us in good stead going forward. A further game changer is the start of the locally produced Hass, which will be counter-seasonal to Tanzania.
Yeah, and just sticking with imports at the moment, Alk, Australian avocados recently gained access to the Indian market, and I believe that South Africa is not too far away from securing a protocol as well. Presumably, you will be adding both these sources in due course to your supply programs.
Yes, correctly. Both these origins are expected to play an important role in the market going forward, and will strengthen the supply possibilities in the Southern Hemisphere season, which is very important. And Westphalia is very well positioned in both origins from our worldwide network. So I would definitely agree with that.
Yeah, and then of course we have the all-important domestically grown avocados. Zach, how far along are you in terms of developing your Indian supply base, and what particular challenges have you encountered that you perhaps might not have faced in other countries?
So yeah, it's a very long-term game. However, it's progressing very well, and we're developing grows over many different geographical parts of the country that will give us a long season from the different climates that we experience. We've established a nursery and over several years brought our plant material across from both South Africa and Israel, and this puts us way ahead of the game. So a big challenge in India is always the logistics and transport links, and India being a vast country, or actually a subcontinent, and that makes working in India a lot more challenging, or brings its own unique problems that you have in India.
Okay, and are you also looking at the potential of developing other varieties apart from Hass?
So yes, most definitely. We've already delighted customers in India, as has been mentioned, with Gem and some other varieties. And on top of that, Gem is already being tested under Indian conditions. So we're going to have supply of Gem both from Tanzania, which we had the foresight to take there many years ago, and from local production in India.
Great. And Alk, finally, given the huge volume of avocados that we are going to see coming through in the next few years, the development of the Indian market is going to be absolutely vital to the success of the global industry, isn't it?
Most definitely. I definitely agree with that. And I have to give Zach all the credit there. He's a man which goes into areas which is less traveled, and India is one of them. We've got many others in mind as well, but if we focus on India, I really honestly believe that this can be a massive change in equaling supply and demand a bit better. But there are many other territories we have in mind, or areas or countries we have in mind as well, which will help us to promote this wonderful avocado product of ours successfully. So our success in India is absolutely a focused program with a plan Zach actually brought to the team, plus a fantastic local partner already. But there's more to come.
Great. Well, we will be keeping a very, very close eye on what happens there. It's a hugely interesting project, and we wish you well with it. Sadly, that's all we've got time for today. So Alk and Zach, thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Mario.